Lemon 64 presents a Playguide and video review. Sit back and enjoy the show.
Hey there, welcome to another Lemon 64 play guide and review. In this week's show we'll be taking a look at Kokotoni Wilf, produced by Neil A. Bate and released by Elite Systems in 1984. The title screen is very sparse even for 1984, and that title music is rather pitiful, and this is what we got when we got this game. Let's press that fire button, let's check this game out. Kokotoni Wilf is a little bit like a Jet Set Willy clone. In fact, it is based on Jet Set Willy, and it is a flick screen adventure containing a total of 63 screens, and each one of those 63 will contain one item that we need to pick up, and that is a star, and apparently a secret potion awaits us if we can collect all those stars for a dragon which is waiting for us at the end of the game. In-game music is also pretty terrible, so let's press that space bar so that we can just play it with the sound effects. In this game we are given a pair of wings, and we can use those wings to fly around the screens to pick up the one item that we need, and having done so we can then move on to the next screen, hoping that there isn't an enemy waiting for us which will kill us straight away. Sometimes there is, and sometimes these lead to dead ends, so you'll have to perfect your flying skills, otherwise you'll lose a life. The player starts with 6 lives, which you can see 5 wolves remaining on that image bar at the bottom, and you can see that we have collected 5 items, and we're on zone 1 out of the 5 zones in the game, and this is BC 1 million according to that. And BC 1 million, well, in 1 million BC there were no dinosaurs. Unfortunately they'd already died 64 million years before that. But in this game there are, and maybe 100 million years ago would be closer for the dinosaurs, but of course 100 million years is a lot of zeros for kids playing this game. Just like Jet Set Willy, if we are in any doubt we can leave the screen and enter it, and that will reapply all the enemies into their default positions, and then we can tackle that screen all over again. And some screens later on will require us to rush into those and make our maneuvers pretty quickly, otherwise we'll get killed. And some screens just like this one have looping enemies, just like that dinosaur, who will loop around the screen and kill us if we take too much time. Luckily water will not kill us, that's a mercy in a game such as this, and fire will kill us, and everything else you can see on the level, and in fact only earth and rock will not kill us, and those are the only safe things, except for maybe the top of a very dinosaur's spiny backside, and that is relatively safe as long as you don't touch the head or the tail. game gradually introduces the player to what they need to do to get through it, and on this particular screen you have to run and grab the item before the shark comes along, and the shark unfortunately swims all the way to the end, so you have to run in, and there is no other way to get around this level, and you have to be careful not to get killed. Of course, every spike and just one touch of the enemies means it's life over. Each screen contains a mini puzzle, and these are very easy, perhaps designed for children, certainly not as hard to work out as Jet Set Willy, and it requires some kind of dexterity with that controller because the flight mechanism in this game does lag on purpose, and the controls are very tight to get around every single tight spot. It's just that the flight mechanism is rather slow to react. You may notice our main character is drawn in low res, but everything else on the landscape is high res, and those high res creatures really do make a difference, and there is something well drawn on every screen which steps this up a little bit from the ZX and CPC versions, but of course this was co-created on the ZX and the CPC. Having collected all the pieces of the amulet on any given zone or any given world, then you'll be given a time portal to the exit, and this exit gate will flash, and you have to find that. It is always in the same place on the same level every time, so if you can make this screen the end screen, sometimes that can save us a job of returning there, but in the main you'll have to find the exit, and that takes us on through time. We are now no longer at 1 million BC, we are now 960 AD, and that means that we are fighting Viking longboats, and other sharks and birds, and also archers and cannons, as well as other things which will kill us. These rooms are very basic and simply drawn, and there aren't too many ways to get lost, but there are shortcuts in this game, and what I'm actually taking is the exit cut, and if you do not take the right route then you'll run into an enemy, and that means you'll lose a life. The walking is a little bit difficult to get used to because he'll carry on walking in a straight line until you stop him from doing that, and sometimes it's difficult to stop the character and to slow him down. But you can see the looping enemies problem managed to loop us and get us on this particular screen, and these screens are not difficult by any stretch of that imagination. So it should mean that we can wander through these, and colliding with a little plant is deadly in this case, so just like Jet Set Willy, those will have to be avoided. This game was coded on the ZX Spectrum and the Commodore 64 by Neil A. Bate, and his next game was The Fall Guy for Elite, and he also wrote Frank Bruno's Boxing, also helped convert Paperboy to the Commodore 64, and created the game Airwolf. These graphics were created by Rory Green, and of course Rory did the graphics for Commando for Elite, and also Space Harrier on Bombjack and other games like that. You can see these high-res graphics don't really blow your mind, but sometimes when animals are on the screen, and specific things a little bit later on, those really do make a great impression. Sometimes pin-precise accuracy has to be used and sometimes not, but simply plucking up enough courage is simply the art of this game, and once that is in the bag, then you can simply hide in a corner, hopefully, and get yourself out of that trouble. And that kind of feeling of escaping by the skin of one's teeth is really great, and it adds to the great atmosphere. And yes, this game is another game with a great atmosphere as we move through time. That's the final one of the items that we need to collect on this level, and so the small detail of tracking down the time hole to get back to our next level, and that could be on any one of these screens because I haven't played this in so long I simply cannot remember. And that's game over. Without any high score table in this game, that is all that you get. And you do get the items that you've managed to collect, but there is no score in this game, so there isn't much mad dashing around trying to get items which aren't necessary. You can spend however long you like on every screen because there is no time limit, and so there aren't too many unfairnesses, although there are a few, as we shall see a little bit later. Colliding with any item is still a major issue, and anything which is lying around could be lethal, especially if you get into a typical Jet Set Willy dying loop, and that means that you cannot escape, you just simply die. This dying loop is certainly not appreciated, and it means that even if you've got far, you can just die just like that and lose all your progress for apparently nothing. So the best thing to do is to take care and to avoid those scenarios and not rush into every room, and you can creep slowly into every room just to make sure, and hopefully the game doesn't have too many of those bugs to spoil it. So let's try it for the final time to get further in this game and move on to our next scenario, which happens to be further on in time. We are now at 1642 AD. And in 1642, well, you can see a very nice high-res skeleton and very nice high-res items there, which is supposed to remind us of witchcraft and things like that. And yes, the narrow escapes in this game keep on piling up, and sometimes it's our fault that we make those mistakes, and sometimes we can simply wander into death, apparently blindly and by mistake. But of course those rooms are very easy to work out, and if we simply drop like a stone into this water, we should be able to pick that up with absolutely no problem. This is not Manic Miner, this will not baffle the player, this is certainly not Monty on the Run. All that we need to do is to find our way through each stage, and there may be a gap there for me to squeeze through, or there may not. And so it's up to us to work that out. Let's see, and unfortunately there isn't, and that is not how to tackle this particular room. And it doesn't take the player long to work that out and to make the progress every single time, and to get some kind of reward for playing this game. There is also a sense of humour as well as expert timing, which needs to be addressed. And you can see London Druid signposts, and it's great to make our way there and again avoid danger by the nearest thread. And those birds actually reminded me of the birds in the Dizzy game, and look at that, actually getting through those things. It's actually very exciting, and this game is not bland. Even though it looks bland, it is, well, atmospheric, and I like these kind of exploring games, a little bit more like Montezuma's Revenge. We can just explore around and collect a few items and feel like we are making progress. Now that we've cleared the top part, now we can actually return back to the lower section, and let's hope that we don't fall back into a dying loop again. And we can avoid that simply by sneaking our way onto that level, and hopefully if we stay in this top corner we should be invulnerable and able to work out the best time to make a run for it. And sometimes legging it in this game is definitely called for, and very tight controls means that we can maneuver our guy around most sets of trouble, even though the controls may seem at first a little bit slow and a little bit unwieldy. Every slight maneuver will actually be registered, and we can precisely stop on the spot. In this case, a tiny little mouse has defeated us, and tiny little mice have to be watched out for in this game because, as you can see, it walks the length of that platform, so you have to merge into this room flying, otherwise that's an easy death. And some screens are very easy indeed, and very welcome, and it means we just have a great time playing this game and enjoy the sense of humour. There is a little bit of a slowdown when there is action on the screen and when we are flying, and that's quite good. It means that things can speed up sometimes when we want them to, and they slow down when in flight when we don't want them to, and that means that angling around these levels is slightly easier. Moving on to the scores, your Commodore gave Kokotoni Wilf the lowest score at 40%, TV Gamer gave this game 60%, the current Lem's 64 score is 62%, Zap gave this 77%, complaining that the puzzles were just overly difficult, and CMVG gave this game 80%, which gives this an average score of 6.5 out of 10. I have a lot of respect for this title. I did play this a lot back in the day, and, well, maybe I have never completed it without the cheat mode, but it's one of those games with save states that you can just carry on and go back to, and this game is fun on every 8-bit platform. On the C64, it has a number of things going for it, and a number of things not going for it. The graphics, even though they are high-res and very full of character, are a little bit sparse, and the colours a little bit pale and bland when they could flesh those out. But don't forget, this is 1984, and this was designed in maybe 83, so, well, you can see a nice flag, and on the next screen, well, we find that we are on a boat, and well, it's fantastic. See those graphics. And we even get to see Captain Jack, the Commodore Jack himself. So that's Kokotoni Wilf, that's to level 4 out of the 6, and I hope you appreciate how to play this, and why not have a go and try this one yourself. Thank you again for watching another Lemon 64 play guide and review. See you again on another one very soon. Thank you.